Voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets the counterparts from US, Canada, Germany, Argentina. Also meets EU Foreign Policy's chief Josep Borrell on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference in Germany. Indian Space Agency ISRO'S GSLV-F14 carrying INSAT 3DS satellite to lift off today at 5:35 p.m. from Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. Former US President Donald Trump hit with $354 million penalty and 3-year ban in the New York civil fraud case. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar is in Germany for the Munich Security Conference. On Friday, the minister met several world leaders on the sidelines of the conference and discussed issues related to bilateral cooperation and current global situation. The Munich Security Conference is being held in Germany till the 18th of February. It offers a unique opportunity for high-level debates on the world's most pressing security challenges. On the sidelines of the Munich summit, Jaishankar also met US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, where the two leaders discussed a wide range of topics, including progress in the bilateral ties. Discussions on the situation in West Asia, Ukraine and Indo-Pacific were also held. Both the leaders also discussed cooperation on maritime security in the Red Sea and the ongoing efforts to secure lasting peace and security in the Middle East. The 60th Munich Security Conference commenced in Germany on Friday, focusing on the Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Hamas conflicts. Over 180 officials and experts are examining the ongoing conflicts and possible security threats, advocating for dialogue and peace. DD India correspondent Trent Murray gets this report from Munich.
Well, this is the 60th anniversary of the Munich Security Conference, and it comes at a time really when it feels there are many potential flashpoints and conflicts which could just spiral out of control into a wider war. We know there are a number of issues on the agenda. I think first and foremost is that situation in Ukraine. We know the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be speaking at this conference, where we expect he will continue to make that call for the West to provide military and financial support to try and help his country repel that Russian invasion. We also know the situation in Gaza and the wider war between Israel and Hamas is featuring heavily. The Israeli president is here, as well as a very large delegation from the Middle East, including the Palestinian Prime Minister, as well as foreign ministers from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan and Egypt. They are expected to try and apply pressure to Europe and the United States, to in turn apply pressure to Israel to try and hold back from launching this new operation that they're signalling they're going to go ahead with in the city of Rafah in Gaza. We know that is the city that over 1 million Palestinians have evacuated to after months of war. There is very real concern, trepidation here that if a military operation goes ahead there by Israel, then the human casualty count could continue to climb dramatically. We expect that the Israeli president will make this address to the conference, where he will try and mount the case for why Israel needs to move forward with this military operation. But we also expect behind closed doors he will hear from even some of his country's closest allies about the concerns they have about what the consequences could be if they decide to go ahead with that operation. Trent Murray for DD India, Munich, Germany.
Let's get you update on the Russia-Ukraine conflict now. France and Ukraine signed a bilateral security agreement on Friday, including pledges from Paris to deliver more arms, train soldiers and send up to 3 billion euros in military aid to Kyiv this year. The French presidency said France has pledged to provide up to 3 billion euros additional military support to Ukraine in 2024. France also pledges to provide more military equipment, in particular for air defense. Macron said Russia's aggression towards Europe has entered a new phase with increasing levels of misinformation.
In the framework of this agreement, France has pledged to spend up to 3 billion euros in additional military aid for Ukraine in 2024, following 1.7 billion euros in 2020 and 2.1 billion euros in 2023. France also pledged to continue its support to Ukraine in all aspects, providing military equipment, cooperation among defense industries, with the development of co-production, training, intelligence, civil aid, etc.
All right, DD India's correspondent Ross Cullen gets us more from Brussels.
Well, Emmanuel Macron had planned to sign this agreement in Kiev, but the fact that Volodymyr Zelensky is attending the Munich Security Conference meant that plans were altered for the Ukrainian president to be able to come to Paris first before Germany. And this was the third visit by the Ukrainian president to Paris since the start of the war and came just ahead of February the 24th, when Ukraine will mark 2 years since the beginning of the Russian invasion. The French presidential palace said the visit was an opportunity for the French president to reaffirm France's determination to continue to provide, in duration and with all of its partners, unwavering support for Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. The two men discussed the situation on the front line, Ukraine's military, economic and humanitarian needs, as well as Ukraine's accession negotiations to join the European Union.
We have prepared and signed an ambitious, very substantive security agreement, and it is very important that there are very specific agreements with these, our partners. We are all together, and this union of the United States, Europe, France, Germany and the United Kingdom, we need this union to defeat the Russian Federation, which came to us with an unprovoked war.
And you can see the EU's Commission building here behind me in Brussels. France has come in for some criticism for lagging behind other European partners in terms of how much military support it gives to Ukraine, though Paris says it does not publish its full figures for security reasons. France did train thousands of Ukrainian soldiers last year as part of the EU programme and is continuing to do so this year, including training fighter pilots. Paris is also sending long-range deep strike Scalp missiles for use by the Ukrainian Air Force and Caesar howitzers for ground forces. The French leader plans to make his next trip to Ukraine before the end of this month. In Brussels, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
Kyiv troops withdrew from Ukraine's southeastern part of Avdiivka to avoid encirclement amid escalating battle on Saturday. The State Border Guard Service of Ukraine released a video showing fierce fighting in Avdiivka. The withdrawal follows months of fierce Russian attacks and marks the biggest change on the front lines since Moscow troops captured Bakhmut in May 2023. Ukraine said the decision provided no strategic advantage for Russia. The commander of Ukraine's southeastern sector, Alexander Tarnivsky, said that Ukrainian units pulled back with minor losses. Israel defense troops continue to operate against Hamas in the Nasser hospital. They uncovered medications with the names of Israeli hostages inside the hospital, along with weapons. On receiving a report regarding the failure of electrical systems within the hospital, IDF troops worked to repair the generator while bringing an alternative one. They also supplied food for infants and water to the hospital. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden has once again reiterated calls for a temporary ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict to allow release of hostages still held by Hamas. The ceasefire calls followed talks between Biden and Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this week.
Well, first of all, I've had extensive conversations with the Prime Minister of Israel over the last several days, almost an hour each. And I've made the case, and I feel very strongly about it, that there has to be a temporary ceasefire to get the prisoners out, to get the hostages out. And that is underway. I'm still hopeful that that can be done.
In a civil fraud case verdict, a New York court has mandated former U.S. President Donald Trump to pay $354 million. Trump's defense plans to challenge the ruling, and the former president contends that it was prompted by political bias. DD India's William Denslow gets us more insights from the courthouse in Manhattan.
New York's Attorney General Letitia James was calling for the judge to make Donald Trump pay $370 million in penalties and receive a lifetime ban from operating a business here in the state of New York.
Today, justice has been served. Today, we prove that no one is above the law. No matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected you are, everyone must play by the same rules. We have a responsibility to protect the integrity of the marketplace. And for years, Donald Trump engaged in deceptive business practices and tremendous fraud. Donald Trump falsely, knowingly inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself, his family, and to cheat the system. Donald Trump may have authored the art of the deal, but he perfected the art of the steal.
The Attorney General didn't get that, but she got pretty close, with the judge ordering Donald Trump to pay over $350 million, as well as giving Donald Trump a 3-year ban from operating a business here in his hometown state. It wasn't just Donald Trump himself that was penalised by Judge Arthur Engoron. His adult male children also received penalties. They have been ordered, both Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, to both pay $4 million. They are both to receive a 2-year ban from operating a business in New York each. This, of course, comes just a few weeks after a separate judge in a separate case ordered Donald Trump to pay to the tune of $83 million in a case that he was accused of defaming the writer E. Jean Carroll, after a judge had previously said that he was liable for sexual assault as well. So Donald Trump's legal bills are certainly racking up. This announcement comes in a week where a judge has announced that he'll face his first criminal trial in the state on March 25th. That in connection to alleged ties that Donald Trump had paid hush money to a porn star in the lead up to the 2016 presidential election. After the judge's verdict was announced this Friday, Donald Trump's team sent out an email to his supporters saying that this was an undeniable election interference and a witch hunt.
These are corrupt people. These are people that shouldn't be allowed to do the things they do. And they're using this as weaponization against a political opponent who's up a lot in the polls and always will be, because I'm competing with a man who can't put two sentences together, who doesn't know what he's doing.
Interestingly, we also heard in the ruling from the judge himself where he said that the lack of remorse from Donald Trump bordered on the pathological. Donald Trump maintains that he has done nothing wrong, and all of the various cases, be it civil or criminal, he denies wrongdoing, saying that they are all examples of election interference and a product of a weaponized justice system. In New York, William Denslow reporting for DD India.
The White House says there is no excuse for violence based on race or religion after a spate of deaths of Indian natives in the United States. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby this week called the recent attacks unacceptable, insisting the Biden administration has been working very hard to thwart them and hold accountable those responsible. DD India's Benji Haya gets us more from Washington.
In the space of just a few days, there have been several separate incidents on American soil, some fatal. Earlier this month, Syed Mazahir Ali, a student in Chicago, was assaulted. He survived, but another student of Indian origin, Vivek Saini, was killed by a homeless man whilst at his place of work in the state of Georgia. In February, Vivek Taneja died following an attack in Virginia near the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Neil Achara was found dead on his university campus in Indiana after he went missing. And others, like Shreyas Reddy Benajeri and Akul Dhawan, also died stateside of late, but It's important to stress that in those cases, authorities are ruling out foul play or suspicious activity. A White House spokesman, when asked by an Indian journalist about these, condemned discriminatory violence, whilst the US envoy to India, Eric Garcetti, insists this country remains a safe destination for Indians.
Look, our heart always is touched when any tragedy, whether it's a life taken by somebody or any violence visited, no matter who they are. And we're very committed to making sure that Indians know that the United States is a wonderful place to study and to be safe. We have more Indians studying in the United States than any country in the world, over 200,000 visas that were granted just last year alone. So we know tragedies will happen. It's our responsibility to make sure that we work together with the Indian government and people know what they can do, and our hearts go out to the families, of course, in any of these tragedies.
The number of hate crimes recorded in the nation's 10 largest cities rose 11% last year, fueled particularly by anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents. Benji Haya in Washington, reporting for DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break, but after the break, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak comes to the rescue of post office managers wrongly convicted for theft and fraud. How? We tell you ahead. House explosion reported in Northern Virginia. Police investigating the reason for the explosion. Living in temporary shelters, people in Congo still struggle for normal lives even after an year of Congo floods.
The one common theme between all major cities across the world is hope and the promise of new opportunities and possibilities that gravitates people towards them.
The reason why we advocate green transformations is because you can retain the building and you can actually modify.
There's a lot that happens when you extract sand beyond sustainable limits. It's going to change your course of your river, it's going to widen the channel, it's going to damage, and we are paying a big price.
We have 2 water reservoirs on 84 acres of land. During periods when the river water is non-saline, we store water in these reservoirs. Throughout the year, we distribute this water to residents.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny homes are more eco-friendly.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour, and let's get you more international updates. United Kingdom's Rishi Sunak government intends to absolve numerous post office managers wrongfully convicted due to faulty software developed by Fujitsu. The Japanese tech company has lodged an apology but not compensated the victims. Many faced bankruptcy, imprisonment and home loss. Our correspondent Julia Chapman met a London-based former postmaster still awaiting justice.
When Vijay Parakh took over a post office in northwest London, things went wrong very quickly. The balance sheet showed more than $88,000 had disappeared, but the money wasn't missing. The accounting software was flawed. Nevertheless, Vijay was prosecuted and spent 6 months in prison for an offence he didn't commit.
I mean, sometimes you'd cry yourself to sleep when you're talking to your family at home on the phone. You'd be crying and they'd be crying, so because they're all there, they can't do anything to help me out because I'm stuck in behind a 6-foot or 15-foot wall.
After being released, Vijay was left with a criminal record and struggled for years to get a job. His family was forced to move away from the neighborhood they had called home. Eventually, it was revealed that this was just one in a litany of similar cases. The post office that Vijay ran was one of thousands using the faulty accounting software, but it was the people managing these branches that were blamed for the errors and prosecuted. Years later, most of them are still waiting for their convictions to be overturned. After a TV dramatization brought the case back to public attention, The government announced it was taking action.
We will introduce new primary legislation to make sure that those convicted as a result of the Horizon scandal are swiftly exonerated and compensated. We will make sure that the truth comes to light, we right the wrongs of the past, and the victims get the justice they deserve.
That's me over there, and
Vijay's conviction was quashed before that announcement was made. But even with a clean record, he says he's received minimal compensation. He lost his business, his property, and years of work, on top of the emotional distress the saga has caused.
we have not done anything wrong, and we've been punished, put in prison. So how do you calculate 15, 16 years of your life? They've lost, I've lost, or the family. I mean, I could have retired by now, which I am nearly at retirement age. 16 years of sheer hell trying to get this thing sorted out.
The scandal has been described as one of Britain's largest miscarriages of justice. The Post Office and Fujitsu have apologised, but nobody has been held accountable. For the thousands of lives that have been turned upside down, justice can't come soon enough. Julia Chapman in London, reporting for DD India.
The UK Conservative Party says it's going to work on its messaging after a large but unsurprising double by-election defeat. Both candidates representing Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's party came second, with candidates for the largest opposition party, the Labour Party, winning by a strong margin.
We need a deterrent. That's what Rwanda is all about, and that is why I'm absolutely...
Midterm by-elections are always difficult for incumbent governments, and the circumstances of these by-elections were, of course, particularly challenging. Now, I think if you look at the results, very low turnout, and it shows that we've got work to do to show people that we are delivering on their priorities, and that's what I'm absolutely determined to do, but also shows that there isn't a huge amount of enthusiasm for the alternative in Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, and that's because they don't have a plan, and if you don't have a plan, you can't deliver real change, and when the general election comes, that's the message I'll be making to the country. Stick with our plan, because it is starting to deliver the change that the country wants and needs.
DD India's correspondent Stuart Smith has more from London on this.
It's the largest ever drop in vote share at a by-election, and it's the second largest swing of all time from the governing Conservative Party to the opposition Labour Party, and means that the Conservatives have lost more seats during this government than any time since the 1960s. It's not what any government planning to fight a general election this year wants to hear, and it is concerning Conservative Party lawmakers and Conservative Party activists who believe this could be evidence that the election is going to go as bad as current predictions suggest. Particularly of concern is the appearance of a right-wing third party, which looks set to split the Conservative vote. It's called the Reform Party. In these by-elections, they came third. No surprise there, but it's evidence that this third party could split the vote, because if all of the voters in the Conservative Party had been boosted by votes from the Reform Party, they would have won one of these by-elections. With that vote split, Labour went ahead with a very secure lead. That is concerning Conservative Party members who suggest that they need to improve their messaging on these issues. The Reform Party says that it's evidence that the Conservative Party is no longer trusted. They're taking similar lines as to the Labour Party by saying that the Conservative Party has failed, that the result of this by-election is evidence that the Conservative Party have failed to deliver for British people over the last 14 years. And so with Labour and Reform taking on the Conservatives Party, it looks like they'll be fighting on two fronts at any upcoming general election, and the likelihood is, according to current polling, that it would be a very secure win for the Labour Party, with these sets of by-elections only going to prove that that could be the outcome. Stuart Smith in London, reporting for DD India.
In Senegal, President Macky Sall on Friday said that he would fully abide by a court's decision that overturned the postponement of the presidential election to December. He pledges to hold consultations to organize the vote as soon as possible. Sall has been under significant pressure to accept the ruling. The US welcomed a court decision and called for a new free and fair election to be held as soon as possible. The standoff has fueled widespread unrest and raised international concerns that one of the remaining democracies in coup-hit West Africa is under threat. While opposition leader and presidential candidate Khalifa Sall called on the president to respect the council's decision and step down by April 2nd.
The intangibilities and provisions of eternity that exist in the Constitution must be respected. To this end, it should be noted, accepted, and acknowledged by all that on April 2nd, President Macky Sall will no longer be the president of this country. The country has confirmed the end of the President of the Republic's term on April 2nd. By April 2nd, we must organize elections.
Heads of state of the African Union are meeting in Addis Ababa for a two-day meeting to discuss issues affecting the continent, including security and conflict. The bloc of 55 countries will also review policies and decisions that govern the organization. DD India's Isabel Nakiria reports.
Member states of the African Union are expected to focus on rising tensions in the Horn of Africa. An agreement for access to the sea between Ethiopia and the breakaway Somaliland is causing tensions with Somalia. The deal gives landlocked Ethiopia access to the Red Sea and allows it to build a military base in Somaliland, which is not recognized internationally as an independent state. Somalia considers Somaliland an integral part of its territory. During a meeting of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, or IGAD, in Kampala in January, member states, including the African Union, the US and EU, reaffirmed their support for Somalia. The escalating insecurity in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo and the conflict in Sudan will also be discussed. The conflicts have forced millions of people to move to safety, with huge numbers living in internally displaced people's camps, and the UN calling for billions of dollars in aid. The situation in West Africa will also be addressed, and the AU Commission Chief Moussa Faki this week expressed dismay that Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have pulled out of the regional body ECOWAS. The AU chief noted that member states need to be united in order to form a stronger bloc to deal with challenges in the region. The meeting will also highlight preparations for the elections of new members of the African Union. Isabel Nakiria, reporting from Kampala for DD India.
A quick look at other stories making it to the headlines from across the world now. Dozens of emergency responders were on the scene of a house explosion in Northern Virginia. Plume of smoke and flames rose after the explosion in Sterling as firefighters battled to douse the blaze. Police are yet to offer a reason for the explosion. The Mexican Migration Agency found 150 migrants from 8 different nationalities on the Caribbean coast when they were illegally carried in a bus. The group was intercepted on 2 buses on the Caribbean coast. There were 139 adults and 11 children from Latin American nationalities. Britain's Prince Harry tries the game of wheelchair curling as he gears up to show interest for the 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver and Whistler, Canada. This year marks the 10th anniversary of the Invictus Games Foundation. Prince Harry expressed excitement for the milestone and the continued impact of the foundation's work. Euphoria and the Hunger Games actors appeared on the Berlin Film Festival red carpet to present their latest projects. The Berlinale is considered one of the 3 major film festivals in the world, alongside Venice and Cannes, and is the largest based on attendance. Around thousands of industry professionals from different countries attended the festival. In Bolivia, intense rainfall has caused houses to collapse and triggered landslides. The Bolivian National Meteorology Service has put Bolivia's La Paz on an orange warning until Wednesday. Days of relentless rain in the region resulted in collapsed houses, swollen rivers and landslides. The heavy rain this week has hit a 20-year record in La Paz. with 85 millimeters reported so far. Thousands of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo are still living in temporary shelters after the country experienced its worst flooding in 6 decades. Heavy rains caused the Congo River to burst its banks late last year due to the inundation of entire neighborhoods in the capital city and 15 other provinces. DD India's correspondent Chris Okamaringa has more from Kinshasa.
The floods have damaged tens of thousands of houses in Kinshasa and other provinces in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Most of the affected families were living near the Congo River. They were forced to flee their homes after the river burst its banks last November. Many of them are now living in makeshift shelters, waiting for the government to offer them assistance. The DRC government and humanitarian agencies have provided some of them with relief supplies, but other flood victims are struggling on their own. Authorities say more than 200 people have been killed by the floods. Many people are facing the risk of contracting waterborne diseases like cholera and typhoid. The water at the Congo River rose to a level that had not been seen in the DRC in 60 years after 2 months of heavy rain. Environmentalists have attributed it to climate change. Chris Ochamringa in Kinshasa for DD India.
We're heading for a short break on DD India News Hour, but after the break, in Pakistan, peaceful protests by Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party to continue across the country today against alleged poll rigging. The 24th edition of exercise Vayu Shakti 24 by Indian Air Force to be held in Pokhran air-to-ground range near India's Jaisalmer. Stay with us as we tell you what all will be on display. Japan approves bill to tackle declining birth rate.
The one common theme between all major cities across the world is hope and the promise of new opportunities and possibilities that gravitates people towards them.
The reason why we advocate green transformations is because you can retain the building and you can actually modify.
There's a lot that happens when you extract sand beyond sustainable limits. It's going to change your course of your river, it's going to widen the channel, it's going to damage, and we are paying a big price.
We have 2 water reservoirs on 84 acres of land. During periods when the river water is non-saline, we store water in these reservoirs. Throughout the year, we distribute this water to residents.
Tiny houses are in vogue. Less is more. Many also assume tiny homes are more eco-friendly.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour. A quick relook at the top stories once again. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar meets counterparts from US, Canada, Germany and Argentina. Also meets EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference in Germany. India's space agency ISRO'S GSLV-F14 carrying INSAT 3DS satellite to lift off today at 5:35 p.m. IST from Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota. Former US President Donald Trump hit with $354 million penalty and a 3-year ban in the New York civil fraud case. The launch of the GSLV-F14 INSAT 3DS mission is set to take place today at 5:35 p.m. from Sriharikota. The GSLV mission aims at deploying the INSAT 3DS meteorological satellite into the geosynchronous transfer orbit. The satellite's primary objectives are multifaceted and crucial for environmental monitoring and safety. It is equipped to monitor Earth's surface and carry out oceanic observations in various spectral channels that are vital for meteorological analysis. Let's take a look at our special report ahead.
ISRO's 16th GSLV mission on Saturday is aimed at providing the vertical profile of various meteorological parameters of the atmosphere. provide the data collection and data dissemination capabilities from the data collection platforms, and also boast satellite-aided search and rescue services. This geosynchronous satellite launch vehicle, GSLV, is a 3-stage 51.7-meter long launch vehicle having a lift-off mass of 420 tons. The first stage, GS1, comprises a solid propellant S139 motor having 139-ton propellant and 4 earth-storable propellant stages L40 strap-ons, which carry 40 tons of liquid propellant in each. The second stage, GS2, is also an earth-storable propellant stage loaded with 40-ton propellant. The third stage, GS3, is a cryogenic stage with a 15-ton propellant loading of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. GSLV-F14 INSAT 3DS mission is funded by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. It is designed for enhanced meteorological observations and monitoring of land and ocean surfaces for weather forecasting and disaster warning. The satellite will augment the meteorological services along with the presently operational INSAT 3D and INSAT 3DR satellites. Indian industries have significantly contributed to the making of the satellite. INSAT 3DS satellite is a follow-on mission of third-generation meteorological satellite from geostationary orbit. Various departments of the Ministry of Earth Sciences, such as the Indian Meteorology Department, National Centre for Medium-Range Weather Forecasting, Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, National Institute of Ocean Technology, Indian National Centre for Ocean Information Services, and various other agencies and institutes will be using the INSAT 3DS satellite data to provide improved weather forecast. Aisha Khanam reports for DD India.
All right, to get us more on that, our correspondent Ritesh Ranjan is joining us from Chennai. Ritesh, good morning. We've just given a detailed report to our viewers telling us more about the satellite, but in very simple layman's terms, explain to us how beneficial is this launch today?
Well, Preeti, this INSAT 3D, F14 3D as satellite, it's the third generation following and meteorological satellite. First thing is that, and we have to understand that, recently when G20 was conducted, we were very serious about disaster management. And there was a, the meeting happened about disaster management, how we can, take care of the situation, how we can prepare ourselves before itself. So that's what the main motto of sending this satellite is. We have already sent 2 satellites before. As I said earlier, that it's a, following up satellite. We have already sent INSAT 3D and 3DR, and this is 3DS. So it is all because how we can actually understand and read the earth environment and the ocean environment, how it changes. So all these things, data collection, so that we can prepare ourselves beforehand if there is any kind of disaster is happening. So that is why this has been this satellite is being sent to study more specifically how the ocean and earth environment changes. These are the things basically we have. And another thing is it will also help to study the data. Well, actually, you were mentioning earlier that NIT, National Institute of Ocean Technology, National Institute of Coastal Research, all these agencies will get help from this satellite if it is sent and successfully set on the orbit, because this will help all these agencies to gather data. We can see data and what we can make it out of it. What will be the outcome? This will actually benefit, and it will also benefit the mankind.
All right, Ritesh, also now we've seen this is not for the first time that ISRO will be attempting something important. You're talking of how disaster management is an important aspect for the country. But at the same time, how do you evaluate the sojourn of ISRO, or for that matter, of India into the space sector? Because last year also we saw a number of feats being established. Where are we placed on the global page now?
Well, we are, day by day, we are setting up a milestone in the, field of, space science and research. Last time also, we have recently, last month, 1st of January, we have successfully sent a satellite ExpoSat for, a study of X-rays and other things. So we are setting up milestone, and last time when after, sending this satellite in a press conference, ISRO chief Somnath ji was telling that, 13, 14 sites is, ISRO has planned up to, to send in the space. So we can make it out, in average, one satellite in a month.
Right.
ISRO is planning to send in space. So how we are prepared, and it is still we are yet to get to know that which all field we are focusing. What is the purpose of these satellites? This is yet to come. India is well prepared in the field of space research and science. I can say that.
All right, Ritesh, we'll leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And from here, we now turn focus to the Indian Air Force gearing up for the spectacular display of its capabilities with exercise Vayu Shakti scheduled for 17th of February at the Pokhran Air-to-Ground Range near India's Jaisalmer. Now, this exercise is the 24th edition of its kind, and it promises to be a riveting showcase of IAF's offensive and defensive prowess. This year, the exercise will see participation of 121 aircraft, including the indigenous Tejas, Prachand and Dhruv. Indigenous surface-to-air weapon systems Akash and Samar will be demonstrating their capabilities. Exercise Vayu Shakti is a demonstration of IAF's capability to deliver weapons with long-range conventional weapon accurately, highlighting its joint operational capabilities with the Indian Army. As part of his 4-day official visit to the United States, India's Chief of the Army Staff, General Manoj Pandey, visited the Defense Innovation Unit, the forefront military innovation unit of the U.S. Army in San Francisco, and interacted with Doordarshan, Director of Defense Innovation Unit and a senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense. The Indian Army Chief also visited the California National Guard. The visit by the Army Chief epitomizes shared values and interests that underpin the partnership between India and the United States. And it also is aimed at further enhancing bilateral cooperation and development in defense and security domains. The Consulate General of India in New York has said that they have learned about a fire incident in a residential building in Jersey City and added that Indian students and professionals residing there are safe. In a post on social media platform X, Consulate General of India in New York stated, and I quote, "It has learned of the unfortunate fire incident in a residential building in Jersey City. Indian students and professionals residing there are safe and no one was hurt. We have been in constant touch with the students and are extending all assistance, including accommodation with important documents. We continue to offer all the support." United States Deputy Secretary of State for Management and Resources Richard Verma will travel to India, Maldives and Sri Lanka from 18th to 23rd of February. The visit is aimed at strengthening cooperation between the US and each of these Indo-Pacific partners. He will first travel to India, where he is scheduled to meet senior officials and advance shared priorities in increasing economic cooperation and promoting maritime security. In anticipation of the upcoming general elections in India, the country's leading party, Bharatiya Janata Party, is convening a 2-day National Council meeting in India's New Delhi with the participation of more than 11,500 delegates. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and BJP President JP Nadda will address the gathering, focusing on a comprehensive organizational agenda. The gathering will witness the adoption of resolutions reflecting on the 10 years of Modi government, along with discussions on the approaching elections. An exhibition on Viksit Bharat Abhiyan will also be showcased. National Office Bearers meeting is organized at Bharat Mandapam, and it will witness the presence and participation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. BJP will be holding the National Council meet today, and it will be a 2-day meet that will be organized in the national capital. 17th and 18th of February, the BJP National Council meet will be organized. All right, for more on this, we have our correspondent Kriti Vadera joining us live. Kriti, good morning. We've just given a broad outline of what all will be taken up in the council meeting. Let us understand more from you. What are the priorities? Because we tell our viewers that 11,500 delegates are participating.
Well, good morning, Preeti. And to tell you here, we are standing in the iconic Bharat Mandapam where G20 was concluded. And today, National Executive Council of Bharatiya Janata Party is happening here in New Delhi with 11,500 delegates, special invitees, as you mentioned. And these delegates are from all across the nation, all states of India. And they are not just the member of parliaments and the member of legislative assembly, but the special invitees, as in the party has targeted the district level presidents also for this conference. And it's a massive conference happening in New Delhi today. It's a 2-day event where 2 major resolutions are seen to be tabled for this conference. And 10-year, a decade-long, achievements of PM Modi's government will be discussed here. And yes, the special attraction of this event would be, of course, Sri Ram Janmabhoomi Temple, the consecration ceremony which happened last month. So there's a lot of enthusiasm which we have witnessed here since morning. And all the delegates who are here are actually awaiting to hear from PM Modi. And the real enthusiasm is for upcoming general elections for 2024. That is what the party is looking up to.
All right, Kriti, we leave it here. Thank you for joining in with those details. And from here, we now turn focus to Pakistan. Following the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf announcement to protest demonstration in the capital, Islamabad Deputy Commissioner refused to grant permission to hold protests on Saturday. According to media reports, the administration rejected PTI's application, maintaining that demonstration cannot be allowed given Section 144 of the Criminal Procedure Code, which is in force in the capital city. Further, the administration has also asked the citizens to avoid getting involved in any political gathering. PTI leaders rejected reports of Imran Khan softening his stance and agreeing to hold talks with Bilawal Bhutto's PPP. Meanwhile, the PTI on Friday announced that it will sit in opposition in the centre and Punjab as the political parties make efforts to finalise the process of government formation in Pakistan and provinces after the general elections. The decision has been taken as per the directives issued by PTI founder Imran Khan, who remains incarcerated in Rawalpindi's Adiala jail. The Japanese cabinet has approved a bill to deal with the country's declining birth rate by expanding the coverage of monthly child allowances to high school-aged children. According to the report, the bill underlines Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's efforts to tackle the sharp decline in birth rate in the country. According to the plan, the existing income limit for households receiving the benefits will be removed and a new funding scheme will be set up, requiring each person to pay an additional 300 to 500 yen in form of monthly health insurance premiums from fiscal 2026. It will start in October this year, and the eligibility to receive 10,000 yen a month will be expanded to those aged between 16 and 18 years. Jailed former Thailand Premier Thaksin Shinawatra will be released on Sunday. Thaksin has been in hospital detention since August after making a dramatic homecoming from living abroad for 15 years in self-exile to avoid prison for a conflict of interest. He had his 8-year jail term commuted to a year by the king after his return and has served 6 months in hospital detention due to an undisclosed health condition. According to reports, a former policeman and telecoms magnate who has been at the center of a tumultuous 2-year battle for power in Thailand, Thaksin was on a list of 930 prisoners who were considered elderly or ill and approved for parole. It was until now not certain when he would be freed. February 18th is the first day of his parole eligibility. A quick break ahead, but after the break, Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana clocks record number of 45 crore Jan Dhan accounts, further strengthening financial inclusion in the country. India takes early wickets on day 3 of the Rajkot Test against England. And Mark Fast's London Fashion Week show was a hit with glamour and colour, marking the vibrant collection at display called Galaxy Beyond.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti, getting you more updates. Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, the scheme which is responsible for providing basic banking facilities to the underprivileged and further catalyzing the government's mission for financial inclusion in India, has over 45 crore Jan Dhan accounts that have accumulated 2.1 lakh crore rupees so far. Inaugurating the 2024 annual government and institutional business meet of the Federal Bank, Union Minister Anurag Singh Thakur said that resolute to take India to the top 3 economies in another 5 years and the developed country by 2047. He also highlighted that the gross NPA has reduced to 3.2% and return on asset has seen a rise from 0.5% to 0.79% in 2023. India's central bank extending the deadline for stopping deposit transactions at Paytm Payments Bank to 15th of March. Customers now have time to deposit money into their accounts, wallets, FASTags and prepaid cards. The central bank said the extension aims to accommodate the needs of the payment bank's consumers and merchants who may need more time to make alternative arrangements, emphasizing that the move was in public's best interest. Delhi is hosting dry fruits and nuts show Meva India 2024 at Yashobhumi, Dwarka. The event is organized by Akron Nuts and Dry Fruits Council, India, to change the way one thinks about nuts and dry fruits. More than 200 exhibitors from all over the world are taking part in the event. International traders focusing on the latest trends, innovations and market dynamics in the dry fruits and nuts sector are participating. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya gets us more details.
Right now, I'm at the Yashobhumi where the Meva 2024 is happening, which is organized by NDFCI, which is the Nut and Dry Fruit Council of India.
No, this is a first of its kind nuts and dry fruit show in India, and it's our attempt to bring the fragmented, huge and promising market together, along with all the international participants coming from more than 20 countries.
What kind of participation you have seen? How many countries from outside India have come here?
So it's almost about 20 countries. We have 180 booths. The whole idea was we are with Modi ji's campaign of Make in India. So earlier, all of us were going overseas to trade shows, to visit those trade shows, to meet our sellers, our buyers, to do that. That's what we tried. We have made the show Make in India. We have everybody coming in India.
You mentioned $2 billion that can be done, but how do you see all these companies coming down at the same place?
So that's the thing about NDFC, the Nuts and Dried Fruit Council. It's the representative body of the whole nuts and dried fruit industry. So I can proudly say the membership today would be about 90% of the trade, direct trade happening, whether it's importers, processors, resellers, everybody is involved in this association. It's just a 6-month-old association, and we have now close to 750 odd members, and the number is growing every day. That's the whole idea. So you have here in this show every nuts and dried fruit brand that's relevant to the country. They are exhibiting here. I think between the nuts and dried fruit sale, all the booths you see here, they would represent 85% of the branded shelves, 90% or even more of the branded shelves across the country.
So that was NDFCI telling us that they are looking forward to taking Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision forward of making India 100,000 crores. That's their vision, and they want to save the forest reserve at the same time. With camera person Gaurav, this is Tapash Bhattacharya for GNE India from Yashobhumi in Dwarka, Delhi.
Let's turn focus to sports now. Updates from day 3 of the ongoing third test match between England and India at Rajkot. Team India gave England an early jolt on day 3 by removing Joe Root, Johnny Bairstow and opener Ben Duckett after England resumed their innings at 207 for 2 today. Opener Ben Duckett smashed 153. He was playing a fearless cricket bout and dealt in boundaries at regular intervals. 5 down, England are enjoying the momentum. On the other hand, the likes of Jasprit Bumrah, Ravindra Jadeja and others aim to get some more breakthroughs in order to gain an upper hand. Earlier on day 2, England bowled out India for 445 runs in their first innings. There was plenty of colour at Mark Fast's London Fashion Week show. Models wore bright knits with oversized coats, crochet and dresses, as well as jeans that morphed into denim boots. The vibrant collection called Galaxy Beyond featured outfits in fuchsia with shiny black boots or silver footwear. Eminent fashion designers of brands like Burberry, Erdem and Di Pezza are also on the calendar till February 20th. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.